y'all. Welcome back to Backroads and Barking Dogs. The past few episodes, I've talked about the people who raised me, my daddy, my mama, the river, and the places that shaped who I am. Today, I want to talk about another part of growing up that mattered just as much. The dogs. Because honestly, I don't think I was just raised by people. I think I was raised by dogs too. Growing up where I did, dogs weren't fancy pets. They weren't perfectly groomed or sleeping in matching beds. They were just part of life, part of the yard, part of childhood. And one of the first dogs I remember was the old shack dog down at Terrarine Landing. He belonged to the river just as much as the towboats did. Nobody really claimed him, but everybody knew him. He'd lay in the shade near the shack while Daddy worked. And you can hear my dog flapping her jaws in the background. Watching everything like he was in charge of the whole landing. And I'd spend hours throwing sticks for him, barefoot, delta dirt between my toes. That old dog chasing every stick like it was the most important job in the world. And looking back now, I realize he wasn't just playing. He was keeping me company, watching over me in that quiet, steady way dogs do. Dogs have a way of doing that. They show up without expectations. They don't need explanations. They don't ask questions. They just stay. And when you're a kid, that kind of steady presence matters more than you realize. After the old shack dog, there was another dog who left a mark on my childhood. My brother rescued her from a shelter in Memphis, a collie, and of course her name was Lassie. You know, like the show. And honestly, she lived up to it. Lassie wasn't just smart, she was watchful. Almost like she believed it was her job to babysit us kids. We'd be outside playing for hours, running barefoot through the yard, getting dirty, chasing each other, and Lassie stayed right there. Always close enough to see us, always aware. If we wandered too far, she'd gently herd us back like she was counting heads. Looking back now, she felt less like a pet and more like a babysitter with fur. She didn't bark unless something was wrong. She didn't demand attention. She watched, she protected, and she stayed. And as kids, we probably didn't realize how safe that made us feel. But now I see it clearly. Part of that feeling that someone, even a dog, was looking out for you. I think dogs like Lassie teach children something early. Sometimes it looks quiet. That protection always doesn't look loud. Sometimes it looks like someone simply staying close enough to make sure you're okay. And maybe that's why dogs stay in our hearts so long. Because long before we understand complicated love, we experience simple, faithful love first. There were dogs through so many seasons of life. Happy seasons, ordinary days that didn't feel important then but became memories later, and hard seasons too. Dogs always seem to know. They lay their head on your knee, follow you from room to room, sit beside you without needing words. They don't try to fix things. They just sit with you. And sometimes that's exactly what healing looks like. Dogs teach responsibility too. You feed them, you care for them, you look after something that depends on you and only you. And without realizing it, you're learning how to love outside yourself. You're learning patience, gentleness, consistency, and maybe the biggest lessons dogs teach us is loyalty. A dog doesn't care what kind of day you've had. They don't keep score. They don't hold grudges. They just greet you. the same way every time. Tail wagging, happy you come back. There's something pure about that kind of love. Something we humans sometimes forget how to give each other. Let's think about that for a second. Looking back now, I realize those dogs were part of my foundation. They were there during ordinary moments that quietly shaped who I became. They were there when life was loud and when life was quiet. And maybe that's why this podcast is called Backroads and Barking Dogs. Because barking dogs sound like home to me. They sound like childhood. They sound like loyalty waiting at the door. They sound like being known and safe at the same time. Maybe you had a dog like that too. The one that followed you everywhere. The one that somehow knew when you were sad. The one you still think about years later. If you did, then you understand. Dogs don't just live alongside us. Sometimes they help raise us. They teach us how to love without conditions. And sometimes they prepare our hearts to love people better too. So today, this episode is a little thank you to the old shack dog, to Lassie, and to every muddy-pawed companion that ever sat beside a kid growing up. Because sometimes the ones who teach us the most never say a word at all. Thank you for sitting on the porch with me today. And until next time, keep your heart open, your tea cold, and don't mind the barking dogs.